Good evening, VV Nation. My name is Ryan. Welcome to the channel. Always a pleasure giving these 6 p.m. videos. Yesterday after the bell, one of my favorite companies reported earnings, AMD. This morning, Lisa Su gave some commentary, and we're going to show you that interview. I'm going to show you the highlights of that interview. She lays out exactly how these tariffs are going to hurt AMD's bottom line. But she does see the importance of these tariffs and having a secure supply chain for national security. After we take a look at the interview, we're going to jump into an article breaking down the results of that earnings, see exactly where the growth is when it comes to AMD. Then we're going to jump into the software, take a look at the chart, take a look at our proprietary indicators, and see if any opportunities are presenting themselves. Now, whether you're thinking about buying AMD or you currently hold AMD, stick around because you might find this information very valuable.
We mentioned this number that you put on the restriction effect. How do you get to the number, and how do you think that, what's the trajectory of that figure as we go forward?
Well, Carl, let me start with first, we reported a great first quarter. I think we saw strength in across all of our businesses. We saw strength in our client and gaming segments. We saw strength overall in our data center segment. And I think that just goes to, the foundation of our business, which is, really on high performance computing. Now, to your question, as it relates to some of the China export controls that came out earlier in April, I would say that it is a headwind in our business. We said it was a $700 million reduction in revenue for the second quarter and $1.5 billion for the full year. But even within that backdrop, what we see is an environment which is very, very favorable to our product cycles and all of the great technology that we have coming out in 2025. So we still see the opportunity to grow strong double digits in 2025. And that is really on the strength of the overall portfolio that we have.
Yeah, a lot of the bullish notes today take note of new chips, right, that will be debuting relatively soon, going to impact favorably the second half. And then this notion, Lisa, I'm not sure how comfortable you are addressing it, of Intel as a shared donor.
Well, let me take, both aspects of it. First, let's start with, what we're doing. We are really about, having, very strong product roadmaps out there. We've always said that for, all of the years that we've been talking. It's about having, a great product portfolio that really plays to what customers need right now. So we see excitement in our data center portfolio. Today, our EPYC processors, our server CPUs are, all over, every major cloud provider is using our server CPUs. I absolutely believe we're still in the very early innings of AI when we think about the opportunity. And yes, there are some, puts and takes and bumps in the road, but overall, we're still at the place where, enterprises are just beginning to feel what AI can do for them.
Lisa, you can't get away from the questions about tariffs, I'm afraid. I know on the call there were quite a few, and I'm going to go there as well because it is a key part here. I mean, do you have any expectations as to whether there will be sectoral tariffs or what they might be? And I also would be interested to know whether you expect there was some pull forward in terms of demand as a result of fear of potential tariffs.
Sure, David. So, look, I think we're all watching the regulatory environment, very, very carefully. As it relates to sectoral tariffs, we're in active conversations with the administration as they're thinking about both the short-term as well as the long-term policy. The long-term policy arc is we want more U.S. manufacturing. We want more manufacturing here in the United States, and we are actively moving a bunch of our manufacturing here, but we realize it's going to take some time.
She's right. It does take a lot of time for these plants to be built. But good thing that TSMC, NVIDIA, and AMD were already ahead of the curve. They broke ground on that TSM plant in Arizona back in May 2020, right? Just over 5 years ago. So you can see it takes several years for some of these advanced AI chip centers to actually be built, right? But luckily they were ahead of the curve, and their chips, well, you can see the article right here, they're expecting them to be produced in America this year. $1.5 billion hit to revenue due to the chip restrictions in China. As I scroll down, the earnings, the estimates came in at 94 cents were expected, 96 cents, so it beat on both earnings and the revenue. You see, came in at 7.44. Expectations, just $7.13 billion. As we dive in further, Lisa Su saying that the company achieved the first quarter results despite grappling regulations on advanced AI chip exports. The company's forecast included $800 million in costs that the company said it would incur because the U.S. limited the export of some of its critical AI technology to China. China is a huge customer, and that's a wild card when it comes to both AMD, NVIDIA, and some of these other semiconductors growth going forward. But there's only one segment that I'm concerned about, and that's going to be the data center, right? That's what propelled NVIDIA to a multi-trillion-dollar valuation. You can see here, look, AMD, the second place server central processor unit, right behind Intel with its EPYC line of processors. These are the same chips that'll be manufactured in Arizona. The company also being the closest competitor to NVIDIA for its GPUs or graphic processor units. And the most important thing here is going to be the data center segment. Look, the sales coming at $3.7 billion, topping street estimates here. The data sales were up 57% on an annual basis. Again, AMD does not have to beat NVIDIA by any means. It just has to stay in the race, stay competitive when it comes to the data center segment. And with 57% growth on a year-over-year basis, the company is proving to be a formidable opponent in this arena. All right, we're finally in the VectorVest 7 software. If you don't have access to the software, you can take a trial out. It's just $9.95. Just go to vectorvest.com/YT. The link is in the description below. Take out a trial if you find this software to be useful. That being said, AMD, right, descending channel. I've been talking about this for a long time. Haven't been too optimistic on AMD, right? A lot of things going on in the world. But hey, look, price action breaking out of that out of the descending channel. Price action also now becoming undervalued. AMD, from a valuation standpoint, becoming very attractive, right? We value the company at $131. Right now it's trading at $99. Since breaking out of the descending channel, now let me zoom into a 3-month time span for a better visual. You can see price action today. The session highs came this morning right around the interview. And shortly after the interview, some of those gains were given away. If we take a look at price action here, you can see, yep, you can see right there, this is when the interview was this morning. The bears came in. Again, probably concerns from China. Not too surprised by that. It's going to be the effect on a lot of stocks, especially semiconductors and tech in general. But as far as price action, things to look out going forward, right? I do see us kind of entering the range bound, more of a channel at the top of that channel around 115. So if you're looking for confirmation to the upside, some momentum to the upside, look for a price action to get above 115, right? If you haven't bought AMD, look at price action staying above this green line. If it breaks this upward trend line it's in now, you could potentially retest the bottom of this channel coming around $78. I've said it before, you know, AMD in the 80s, even low 90s, probably not a bad idea going forward. But if you did already buy the dip, as long as price action stays above this green line, not too concerned. You can see some consolidation points here I have as of recent. Some levels I'm looking at. The first one's going to be 102 to break out of. We got rejection there in the zone between 102 and 104. Really want to see price action stay above $96, $95, somewhere in there to find a nice level support here. So the next step for the bulls will be breaking out of this consolidation, making its way back up to retest this 115, and to really get a sense that the bulls are finally taking charge, not only with AMD, but also, you know, NVIDIA, TSM, some of these other semiconductors. I want to see price action get above 115. This is going to be the more conservative waiting point, right? But if you're already in it, if you're already taking some nibbles, hey, as long as price action stays above this trend line, no major concerns to worry about. But if price action breaks below this trend line and makes its way towards this channel, that would lead me to more concerns. But as we break down the forecasted data, let's go back out to a year here. You can see the earnings per share kind of rolling over. Again, EPS, it's a leading 12-month forecast. Right around the beginning of the year as well, the growth rate and earnings also starting to decline right before the beginning of the year. The only thing I see here growing, which is great news, is the sales growth rate. If I use a date line, we can see a year ago, earnings growth rate came in at 26%, sales growth rate 2%, earnings growth rate declined, but the sales growth rate coming in at 24%. Earnings is going to be the engine that can drive a stock price even higher. Well, the sales growth rate is going to be the fuel for that engine. So we're getting more fuel, potentially getting the bulls more excited to bring price action back up. So overall, the forecasted data coming in double digits in both fields, earnings per share rising over the last 12 months. Not a major concern there when it comes to forecasted data. Price action, a little bit on the aggressive side here since we just got the breakout of this long descending channel. And if we take a look at RT relative timing, this gives us a sense of the short-term price trend. A lot of optimism here. RT unfavorable for quite some time, since November 2024 for the most part, but now recently becoming in favorable territory, hitting a high of 1.09, now sitting at 1.02. Again, so the short-term price trend is now in the favor of the bulls. Even though the magnitude is very light, we are seeing some optimism when it comes to a bottom fishing opportunity when it comes to AMD. Now, I hope this information you found informative, gave you the ability to be on the right side of the trade going forward. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the content, and I'll see you tomorrow night.